Some animals in the wild demand a different kind of respect, not because they are rare, but because they are powerful, unpredictable, and impossible to fully understand. Among them, bears stand in a category of their own, and over time, experienced hunters have learned something important. There are certain bears that you simply do not shoot, not because you can't, but because sometimes you shouldn't. For someone unfamiliar with the wilderness, this may sound unusual. After all, hunting is often seen as a simple process. You track the animal, you position yourself, and you take the shot. But real experience changes that perspective, because not all animals behave the same way, and not all situations are equal. Some bears run at the first sign of danger, others disappear long before you even see them. But then there are those that don't react the way you expect. They don't panic, they don't rush, they don't retreat, they observe. One of the first reasons hunters become cautious is simple: risk. A large bear is not just another animal. It is one of the most physically powerful creatures in the wild. It can run faster than a human over short distances. It can climb when necessary, and it can cover ground with surprising speed. Even when a shot is accurate, it may not stop a bear immediately. And in those few seconds, everything can change. Because when a bear decides to move toward you, distance disappears very quickly. That is why experienced hunters pay close attention not just to the animal, but to its behavior. If a bear shows hesitation, fear, or retreat, the situation is predictable. But if it stands still, if it watches, if it shows no urgency to escape, that is when caution begins. Another situation that hunters often avoid involves a mother bear with cubs. These bears are not just strong, they are extremely protective. When cubs are present, the bear's priorities change completely. It is no longer about survival alone, it is about defense, and that defense can be immediate. There is no warning, no hesitation, just reaction. Many experienced hunters recognize this instantly, and instead of taking the shot, they choose to step back. Not because they lack skill, but because they understand the outcome. There is also a different type of bear that draws attention, not because of aggression, and not because of size alone, but because of presence. Some bears dominate their territory in a way that is easy to notice. They move with confidence. They appear in areas where others don't. They leave clear signs of control. These are often older, more experienced individuals, and their role in the environment is significant. They regulate movement. They influence other animals. They maintain a form of balance. When such a bear is removed, the effects are not always immediate. But over time, things begin to change. Other bears move in, conflicts increase, patterns shift. For hunters who have spent years observing these systems, this matters, because hunting is not only about the moment, it is about what happens after. Then there are the bears that behave in a way that is harder to explain. They seem aware, not in a human sense, but in a way that suggests experience. These bears avoid obvious paths. They change direction unexpectedly. They respond differently to sound and movement. Some hunters describe them as smart. Others simply call them unpredictable. And in the wild, unpredictability is one of the most dangerous factors, because you cannot prepare for something you cannot anticipate. There is a story often shared among hunters in northern regions. A man had been tracking a large bear for hours. The signs were clear: fresh tracks, recent movement. Everything suggested that the encounter would happen soon. Eventually, he found it. Standing in an open clearing, still, silent, looking directly in his direction, the hunter raised his rifle just as he had done many times before. But something felt different. The bear did not move, did not turn away, did not react. It simply stood there, aware, and in that moment, the hunter hesitated, not out of fear, but out of recognition. He lowered his weapon and slowly stepped back. Later, he explained it simply. It didn't feel like the right one to take. Not every hunter would make the same decision, and not every situation is the same, but over time, patterns form, and those patterns influence behavior. Because in the wilderness, knowledge does not come from theory, it comes from experience, from observation, from mistakes, from understanding consequences. Bears are not just powerful animals, they are part of a larger system. Each one plays a role. Some are more important than others. Some influence more than others. And sometimes the difference is not visible at first glance, but those who spend enough time in nature begin to see it. So when a hunter chooses not to shoot a certain bear, it is not weakness, it is not hesitation, it is awareness, a quiet understanding that in the wild, every action has weight, and sometimes the most important decision is the one you choose not to make.